Welcome to Command Control Power, the longest-running Apple consulting podcast. For over a decade, we've delivered weekly episodes filled with epic tech support stories, troubleshooting insights, discussions about managing clients and businesses, and interviews with industry colleagues and vendors, all tailored for our pro listeners. We also offer exclusive content through Patreon. This private podcast feed is designed specifically for IT professionals, providing valuable advice and guidance on tackling the more complex aspects of running your practice, working with clients and employees, and managing device fleets. With a modest monthly contribution, you'll gain access to a wealth of advanced Apple expertise, meaningful connections, and a community driven by a shared passion for Apple technology. Visit commandcontrolpower.com and click support to learn more.
Command Control Power is brought to you commercial-free thanks to the support of our incredible community. We extend a special thank you to our VIP Premier partners, Adigy, the leading Apple device management platform, Tidbits Content Network, Cirrus Partners, and Electrona, the makers of Patch. We truly appreciate our VIP supporters and all of our patrons for making this show possible. Thank you.
Welcome to another episode of Command Control Power. We are happy to have you listening, and hopefully some of you are supporting us at commandcontrolpower.com. Click on support and join us on Patreon, where we have a lot more episodes, behind-the-scenes content, and special features. But we really appreciate you listening weekly. We've been going for the last almost 12 years now, nonstop every single week. So it's great to have you out there. Your support means everything to us, and thanks for listening. So
yeah, we're not good, folks. We're consistent, though.
All matters.
We lack
quantity.
Well, we lack in we're consistent and we're reliable.
Yeah,
like the person that you knew you could ask to the prom if you really had to. If you were like all out of other options, there was one person you knew you could ask. That would be us.
Yeah, there you go.
We're your prom date, your backup prom date.
So I got one for you guys on the topic of notifications. So I fixed Safari for a client recently by simply restarting her Mac. And the issue was Safari wasn't opening. She clicks it in the dock. Actually, when I tested this, I clicked Safari in the dock and her Mac went to the login window. So I don't know if that's what she was experiencing, but then there was a time where you click it and it says, Safari is not open anymore. And it's okay, you would like it to be open. But like, these are again, going back to the previous show, these are the super helpful technology support error messages that like, you're a computer, figure it out. Like, I clicked Safari. I want Safari to be running. Don't tell me Safari is not open anymore. Do what you got to do. Force quit it, reopen it. I don't care. Make it work. Anyway, so
I love that argument. You're a computer, figure it out.
Figure it out. Like, why are you putting it on me, the user? Safari is not open anymore. Oh. Okay, what do you want me to do about that? So restarting fixed it, right? So she writes me back. I'm looking at the preview on my phone in between shows here, and it says the little summary, gratitude was expressed. Okay, so that's the summary. I tap on the message thinking this is going to be a nice flowery message of support and really thanking me deeply for my help. What does the message say? Thank you, period.
But, that's it?
No, just thank you. Gratitude was expressed. Is that helpful to anyone to read?
That's longer than the message.
Like, exactly. It's a 2-word message. Thank you. It doesn't get more simple and clear than that. Gratitude was expressed. Like, thanks for using the passive voice. Like, who is this benefiting? Okay, so we've all seen this. This is not new. This is just yet another rant because I'm on a roll recently. But sometimes these AI summaries are nice when it's this and separated by semicolons, and it's like giving you just a general sense of the message that you're going to read. That's helpful. I guess maybe there should be a threshold. If the message is short enough, I think this is what I really want. If the message is short enough to display the 2-line preview, don't summarize it. Just display the actual message in the preview. That seems pretty obvious to me. That would be the one thing, but is there any other ideas you guys have about like how should Apple handle this? Maybe it's a subtle problem, but that to me seems like probably the most obvious.
That one's the least of the problems, Joe. The shortening of the shorter message. There are a lot.
It's a problem that we never knew was a problem. Yeah. We don't need these summaries. We either if it was enough of a meaty message that you read the summary, you'd have to go back and read the whole message anyway.
Yeah,
so
you'd have to read it anyway.
I mean, and most times I don't have this problem. If I look at the subject and who it's from, I could usually tell what it's about,
Yeah.
And if it's something that I don't recognize, I'm not going to get my direction of whether I dive into the email and read the email or not by the summary. It's just useless. I have it turned off. It's absolutely useless.
Yeah.
Something we don't need.
Yeah,
Damn it.
I can't say the summaries have done anything for me. I'm just trying to think. The only time I think it could be possibly is if I know a possible like angry email is coming in, and then I see just a couple of words of the summary. I'm like, oh, okay, this is safe to open now.
Good point.
But that's about it. Other than that, I don't have a big
Or the classic example of a group thread in messages and you stepped away for 20 minutes and you come back and 16 people they're talking about this person's available on this day, but not this day. And this person, and the summary is dinner proposed for 6 p.m. on Friday or whatever.
That would be, yeah.
And so sometimes that's helpful. But again, if you can display the entirety of the message more easily than you can display a preview in a summarized preview. The other thing that it does is it will summarize like the earlier parts of the thread, like including my messages to the client. Did you guys see that one? Jerry doesn't see it because he turned it off. But yeah, like it's like, I know what I said 2 days ago and that's irrelevant now. A meeting was proposed for Tuesday. It's Wednesday now. So just leave that part out. Like, this is not helpful. Like, how do you not realize it's not helpful? Who approved it? Yeah. Anyway, we're just ranting about Apple's really false starts on Apple Intelligence. But
I can tell you something on the Google side, since we're always ranting about the Apple side. So I have a car with Google Assist in it, which is all right, but we had to reset they call it the infotainment system with Google Assist. And Google Assist says to me in the car, it's like giving me examples of how to use it. And it says, you can use phrases, okay, Google, play the news. And then she responds to her own request and says, now playing the news. And then starts playing the news. I'm like, you're the one that asked that. That's terrible. Insane. How did you just give yourself your own command?
Okay. Yeah. Oh, man. I know.
Anyway, it's not always just Apple, Joe. That's all I'm saying.
Thank you. That's fair. It's good to know that we're because sometimes I feel like embarrassed for Apple or like to be an Apple user these days. It's just especially with how bad Siri is, obviously with. I talk about that all the time where it's like you asked, you offered, and then Siri is giving me like it's confusing, and I get it. It's like not a simple, straightforward technology. It's like a very complex thing, these large language models, but it's really too bad that Apple felt the need to like go full speed ahead with Apple Intelligence. They got the branding right. That's about all they got right so far. Honestly, it's pretty. I don't know. We'll see. Next week, as we record, is WWDC. So maybe we'll see that they're really truly on track for the release this fall. I don't know. But I would love to see like a live demo. Like I think they need to do a live demo. Yeah. If they have any hope in changing the kind of trend of what people are thinking about Apple Intelligence right now.
I frequently get confused too, because the lines are really blurred with our clients as to what's Siri and what's voice dictation and how that transposes information incorrectly. And I think that's just all lumped together in people's minds. And I think even if Siri gets a little bit better, I think voice dictation, as we've outlined in many shows, it's just getting worse. Just this past Saturday, Joe, I was mentioning Joe, Sam, because he's worked with the same subcontractor. He's a cabling guy. His name's Andy. And I wanted to message to him that he said, yeah, I just sent her the proposal. And I said something like, yeah, I'm sure it's a go. Thanks for the heads up. And Siri interpreted that, and I just sent it off to him. I'm sure it's, hey, girl, thanks for the heads up.
Oh, boy.
So I'm sure it's a go. I don't know how you get, I'm sure it's, hey, girl. Yeah, but that was very weird. And of course I said to her, And frequently I will use the word file server in voice dictation. And inevitably, 9 times out of 10, just like the old days when it would capitalize for instead of FIR, it'll be a capital FAYLE, fail server.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, just bizarre stuff.
I have to guess now, is that the last name of one of your clients?
No, I don't even know who a fail is. I have no idea.
Because I've seen those. To me, it's an interesting.
I've seen that too.
Privacy leak, like where it will think that if there's the name of one of your clients, first name, or
Mari,
last name in your contacts,
we talked about.
And it'll just, maybe you're talking about this random person that you haven't corresponded with in 10 years.
It's
And it
terrible.
throws that name in. It's like a potential kind of privacy leak there, the fact that it does that.
Very true.
I met an acquaintance a couple weeks ago who is sharing his own story of driving and dictating something like an email. And as he's driving, so basically embedded in the middle of this email is, hey, you effing whatever, don't you know how to scissor merge? And he sent it out. And it's like a professional colleague of his that got this email from him. It's like, effing this, don't you know how to? And I shared your story, Jerry, of the you lie. Yeah, the classic. He got a kick out of that too, but it's a little bit like lower stakes than you effing whatever. Don't you know how to scissor merge? But obviously, context, like we've all probably been there, and the person who received it knew they weren't talking about him. But it does give you a sense of you probably would never share that part of your personality with this professional colleague. And now your dictation really leaks like this is, you might get a little heated in traffic.
Has that ever happened to one of you guys? And then you're trying desperately to stop it from going because Siri says, now sending this. And then you're like, no, wait, stop. That's happened to me before. And I'm trying. I'm driving. I'm like going 70 miles an hour on the highway.
Just wait until your car starts to also use AI to navigate. So it's stop, don't do it, don't do it. And like your car just like kicks the brakes on like full, like you stepped on the brake or something. Yeah. Oh man,
We're just on the heels of WWDC, or it's actually maybe this week by the time this show broadcasts, but I just don't have the stomach for anything that they're going to promise. I don't have the stomach for the headlines. I just don't want to hear it. Like, show
prayer
me.
Hands. Sam's doing prayer hands.
I don't want to hear how they're...
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, they're going to do damage control about all the negative press that they've had on AI, and now they're going to show us how they've made things better now. Just show me.
Yeah.
Don't talk to me anymore.
Like we need live demos and probably like a beta release of something. Like show us that there's some hope for Apple Intelligence here after a full year past when it was announced. Yeah, that's rough.
One little thing about AI is just 2 days ago, I got a request from a longstanding client. We've been working with them since 2011. And a lot of our relationship, and it's a big client for me, it's one of those anchor stores, was a spit and a handshake. Nothing was put on paper. It's the educational client that I've talked about on the show, and this is your rate, and I'm going to do as much as I can for you. But it was nothing was clearly laid out. So they said, they have a new head of school and we're going to do something different this year. And we want to have you specify what your rate is and what's the scope of your services, what are extras. And I thought to myself, this is going to be really hard to do. So all I did, ChatGPT to the rescue. I did a verbal dump of everything I did. I stopped it a couple of times. I made mental notes of things. I added to it and I said, just put this in a contract. And the first time out, it laid out, like I would say we were maybe 85% there with what they put in this contract. Now, as I mentioned before in the show, the problem is once you say, this is great, now I'm going to tweak it. Can you fix the signatures at the end? And then all of a sudden, everything starts to go into tilt mode. And all of a sudden, it's stripping
about this stuff. Yeah.
It's stripping data from the body of the contract now, and it's not giving me the signature modification that I requested. If I ask to do a little special formatting here or there, it gets far worse. So I rolled back, and I'm starting with that main template that was recorded the very first time, or that they produced the first time in PDF format. But any modifications to it, and it goes bad. Really bad.
And you were able to retract that though and get to the good point?
Yeah. Every time I would say create a PDF of this. And so there was a downloadable PDF. So I'm able to go back to that. And that's what I'm using as my core structure for it.
You can't ask it to tweak it. This is the broken promise of these AI assistants, right? Because you're going to replace the whole US workforce with these AI knowledge workers. And you'll be able just to say, hey, chatbot person, create the contract. oh, that looks good, but can you add the logo at the bottom? Let's say this is how you're supposed to be able to talk to them, to your exact example, Jerry. And if you had an actual human assistant, there would be no confusion about this. You already have the document, just add the logo at the bottom and maybe change the border on the side or whatever and make the
Depends
font,
on the human.
Times New Roman. Yeah, that's fair. That is fair. That is fair. But most of them, the bar is higher even at the low end of the human assistant to be able to, maybe they don't know how to do that. How do I put a logo on a PDF? I don't know. They have to figure it out or ask you for more guidance or something. But these chatbots are like, sure. And then they produce something and it's total garbage. And it went backwards. I have my own example of this where I shared this great win with ChatGPT a few weeks ago about take a page out of Jerry's playbook. I thought, I want to just put a little graphic on my site and I want it to be like, I just could imagine it in my head. I want it to be a Mac-like document icon that's going to have some text in it. And it's going to have a little page curl effect and a little shadow and border and whatever. And so I described this to ChatGPT and the first result was pretty darn good. I was really impressed. Okay, can you make it so that this line wraps to the next line? Can you make it so that this part's in bold? Leave a little space before the last line. And it didn't quite get it. And it's weird because now the document that I liked, the first version, now it just produced a totally new document icon.
Yep.
It's just, and I'm like, okay, all right, hold on. I liked the way the first one looked, like in the colors. I'm like, how do I even explain this to this idiot? Like chatbot?
Yeah.
It's just, and I don't know. I don't have enough like practice with it. So I'm like, so I tried it back and forth and generating images, there's this delay. So I'm like, I let it generate. I go do something else. I come back. It might be like an hour later. I'm like, oh yeah, I was doing that thing earlier. So I go back to it and I look at the result. So so my back and forth was figuring this out a little bit. And I got something that I thought was usable and I talked about it on the show. And then I went back to my site and I realized, oh man, when I had it like wrap this one line to the next line, it actually took out the bullet point that was supposed to be there. It was such a simple design. It was just like 4 bullet points, but one of them was this like longer phrase that had to be wrapped to the second line. It's not complicated. But when it correctly wrapped that line, it actually just removed the bullet point for some reason. Because again, it just gets, it's like non-deterministic, right? So you can't, you ask it the same thing and it gives you a different answer every time or a slightly different answer, different result.
And with the paid account that I'm, just to interject, you're using the free account. I'm using the paid account, so I'm getting the 4.0 version. So I'm supposed to get more juice.
I'm on a paid version 4.0. Okay. Yep. And it was juicy. It was great. I got all the juice and I thought it was going great. And I just didn't notice that the bullet point was missing. So I go to my website the next day and I'm like, oh shoot. Okay. I don't know. Maybe I'm the only person that's going to notice this, but let me fix it because it's going to make me feel better if it's just formatted right. So I go back to the thread that's already still open and I just say, hey, this was great, but you forgot the bullet point on this line item. And I quoted the line from the document. Like you could see the document. You know what I'm talking about. Hey, buddy. Yeah. And it just went sideways. It's totally the exact example you're giving where it just went sideways. It gets worse and worse. It starts degrading. Now it's got the text overlapping the page shadow or the page curl effect. Now this line it forgot I had a plus sign at the bottom in front of the last line or whatever. Now it's missing the bold on this line. It's like, it's going sideways. It just totally lost the thread. So I go back and I say, let's start over with this dot. And I copy and paste the original prompt. I include some of the little coaching that I did to get the desired result. Okay, let's start there again. Let's most of the way there. Now you've got, and there's a different problem. So then I say, okay, do that, but I like this version, but fix that. And it's like you're arguing with this person that is like high and drunk. It's like your assistant they didn't get any sleep last night. They're hungover and they're not really hearing everything you're saying. What is going on here? The assistant is drunk and high and hungover and has had no sleep in 3 days. And you're telling them, just fix this one little thing. And then they produce this result that's completely different where they screwed up 3 other things to fix the one thing you asked for. It's like,
I have no idea how this works. And I have a theory, and I don't even know if this is even possible or true. But when you actually send these requests out, they have this big resource. And I just think it's hitting different locations.
Like a different model or different server or different. Yeah.
Exactly. When you use ChatGPT, you could choose the different models that you use. There's a little drop down where you could vary it if you wanted to. And I don't do that. But I think every time you send even like an addendum to what we're working on, Joe, and using as an example, I think it's like going to a different resource. And the resource picks up the data, but it's not the same. It's not the same. I want to say person, but it's not the same.
It's not the farm or whatever. Like,
yeah, it's not the same machine that you talked to 2 seconds ago. It's a different machine that's giving you just a slightly different variant on it.
Some of this is built in. Some of this is by design, that it's not deterministic, that like it's creative in a sense. It can synthesize like lots of information that it has access to and answer interesting questions in maybe a new way. And it's so part of it, like it has to be non-deterministic, where in other words, like it's going to give you some slightly different result every time. But for something like this image creation, it's like it generates the result, but I don't think that it actually then analyzes its own result and then tweak it. It's just, I'm going to try again, but I don't know what's going to come. I don't know what kind of result I'm going to spit out. I hope it's going to work. And then it's up to you to just continue to try. It's like brute force. You're just trying different things and maybe something's going to work eventually randomly because it's not deterministic. You won't get the same result every time. And it doesn't know. I mean, it can analyze images, but it can't really seem to understand its own output well enough to be able to say, I like what you just told me, or it's about images, I think. Because I think with the text, it can more easily do that. Like it knows what it told you. And if you say, hey, you just said 2 + 2 = 5, that's not correct. It's, oh, I'm sorry, you're right. But I assume it's actually looking at what it said and tweaking it. But with an image, I don't think it's analyzing the image it generated as the output and then like making subtle tweaks to it. I think it's just starting over more or less each time.
Exactly.
This randomly different result. Yeah.
Oh, what a surprise. We're hating on AI.
Yeah, I know. This is like the regular.
This is why I don't use it as much, guys. This is why I'm still far behind.
You're saving money, Sam.
On this, but yeah.
We've used it for recipes, though. I'll say that. It's really good for, this is what we have in our fridge. And it puts together a pretty good recipe.
But no, I think hands down, I think it's absolutely fantastic in terms of putting all this information together for me and making some sense out of it. I was like, holy crap, how long am I going to be working on this contract? And the bulk of it was done in 2 minutes. Yeah. It's ridiculous. Or I've mentioned this before. Of course.
Your advice might be like generate the initial draft and then just dive in and start fixing it yourself.
Yeah, maybe.
Good at that. Yeah,
or just taking a very complex situation and trying to put it in terms that a client can understand. And I don't say, make this so that an end user could understand this. I just do a dump of, we did this and then we did that and we found out this didn't work and then we did that. Throw it in there and they say, make some sense out of this. And it's beautiful. It's a beautiful email.
That's
professional looking. Yeah. Because you know how our lives are sometimes. Then there's like this litany of things that we tried and that didn't work, but this did work, but it recreated this problem. And just for somebody to use your word, Joe, synthesize, take that information, just synthesize it together and make it into a cohesive presentation for a client is so helpful.
Yeah. Sam, you got any uses of AI in your day-to-day?
Not in my day-to-day. We've talked about this before, but my need to write things myself is still very prevalent. I can't communicate with AI, but I do use it for like write-ups now. I'm starting to get better at saying, why am I writing out these bullet points and like saying what we're going to do on this project? And to be honest, no joke, sometimes I think Jerry's using this so much, I should be doing that. So
me too.
Sometimes, so sometimes I'll take stuff that we're doing and just throw line items into ChatGPT and it'll build out my proposal, so to speak. So that is getting better, or I am getting better at taking that extra legwork of taking an hour and a half to write something up and make it pretty and just throw it in there. And it's amazing how well it does that. Yeah. I think beyond that, then it can get a little tricky.
If it could just listen to all my phone calls and just summarize what we did that actually worked, and maybe some of the things we tried that didn't work. Who gave the example on a previous episode? It might have been Michael Thompson. It might have been Adam Rice. I think they both had really good examples of this. But the idea of you just add it to the Zoom call or whatever platform you're using for your client calls, and it will listen to everything and recap what was done and action items, like what your agenda is for next time, things like that. that seems very promising. And I think I could really use it and benefit from that because like you, Sam, I'm just writing everything myself a lot of times still.
Yeah.
It's in my head and then I have to remember and write it out after the call. But that's also part of my process of remembering what worked and maybe being able to recall it myself next time.
I also might not listen as much.
Well, Sam just disappeared.
I was getting tired of him anyway.
Oh man, we're having a
Oh, he was making fun of you, Joe, with the show. And look at him.
Yeah,
Mr.
exactly.
Smarty Pants.
Maybe he just his whole thing just died. Let's see what happens. All right. While we're waiting on Sam to finish that point, I'll give you a non-technical example of ChatGPT. Oh, okay. Sam's back. We're off the rails again. Sam, start that over again. What were you saying?
Oh my God. I think my mouse clicked and when I was talking because I had my hand on my mouse.
I've been there.
Yeah.
Can you see him on your screen, Joe? I can't see him.
Really? Yeah, I see him.
Isn't
Oh, stop, Jerry. You're messing with me.
No, there's
know,
a big black screen. No, I'm not kidding you.
I can see myself, so that's all that
see
matters.
a screenshot. I don't believe you.
Well, that's really strange. I'm going to send you a picture so you know I'm not lying.
Sam, go. Yeah, go.
Anyway, what I was saying was the only other thing about the AI assistants to summarize the calls and stuff is like I may not listen as intently is what I was going to say because
good point.
And then I might not have a reply on the spot to say, no, that's not a good idea. Or I think we should go in a different direction or anything like that. So I still have to pay very close attention. I think the note taking is key, though. It is helpful.
Yeah, and I'm still going to read it after. So if AI gives me the thing like, this is what you did and this is how you solved it. Good job, bullet points, whatever. I'm still going to read that. I'm going to copy and paste it into my ticket notes. And I'm probably going to add stuff and remove stuff and whatever. Maybe I think that could be really helpful for me. I just need to like see the easiest way to build it into. I do most of my support by phone, not Zoom calls and all this fancy newfangled stuff that can just easily add a AI agent to it. So I'm going to have to see if my phone system or I just have to conference in my little AI bot to do that live note taking and stuff. Anyway. Stefan Oberle in the chat says, I regularly create small apps for specific client needs, which sometimes is more efficient than teaching the client repeatedly. I've definitely created apps before. I tried on Adam Rice's recommendation to use ChatGPT to code an Apple script, and that was pretty successful, but it also, it was like the same example of there's this refinement process that does not go that smoothly for me where it fixes something but it breaks something else. And I have to keep track of what it's fixing and breaking and maybe still understand the code enough to be able to copy, what do you call it, function from what did work and paste it into the thing, the updated version that added a feature or something like that. So yeah, using it for coding seems really promising as well, but in practice, I think I don't know that I'm saving a ton of time in my examples with it.
Yeah, watch out for mistakes in coding for sure.
I will give you a non-technical example, which is we went and picked up some seedlings at the local nonprofit farm, and I said to ChatGPT, tomato, basil, cabbage, sweet pepper, eggplant, white onion, shishito pepper, kale are the seedlings we have. Which plants like the most sun and which ones like more shade? Do any of those plants like to grow next to each other? And it says, great list of seedlings. I love how enthusiastic it is. Here's a breakdown of their sun/shade preferences and companion planting capability. I'm like, oh, that's the word I was looking for, companion planting compatibility. So it says sunlight preferences. It gives the recap, and then it gives partial shade tolerant. Okay, it gives that recap. It even says certain ones like kale grows well in full sun, but can tolerate partial shade. So it gives you options, really helpful. And then it gives me suggestions like tomato and basil are good together, tomato and onion. Basil repels pests and may enhance tomato flavor. Onion deters pests like aphids. So it's telling you what to plant near each other and then what to avoid planting together. And then it gives a suggested planting layout. And then it says, would you like a visual planting map based on this info? So then I tell it what kind of raised bed we have, the approximate size, oriented east-west lengthwise. Could you propose a layout for these plants in one bed? So then it says, thanks. It's thanking me for giving it more info. I thought that's also really pleasant. And then, it tells me what to do and it summarizes the thing. I love how it even uses emojis as little headings. And it's actually really, it's very nicely done. And then it charts out a little thing with, what do you call it, pipes and brackets and things. Like through text, it's actually giving me the plant layout. It completely forgets to include kale for some reason. Like it's nowhere in this list.
How does AI forget?
It just loops the thread constantly. It's like, you tell me
oh, sorry, I forgot this, Joe.
That's ASCII art. Thank you, Stefan. Exactly. And then, so I got enough info from that. I gleaned enough info to just give me the information I needed and run with it. Like I didn't follow its exact guidance, but it was really helpful versus the old-fashioned method of looking it up, and then maybe like Wikipedia tells me what I go to each plant on Wikipedia and it tells you the shade or sun preferences. And then maybe I get to somebody's blog about gardening and it tells me the different companion planting. It used to be I'd have to go and reach out to all these different corners of the internet and gather this information. Now it just recaps it. I don't know if it's trustworthy is the thing, but it's nice that it's like a quick, easy answer. It's exactly what I wanted to know.
I like the way that searching different sites on the web was your old-fashioned version, because my old-fashioned version was going to the encyclopedia and taking it out and finding out, taking out the book and finding out where this plant likes to be planted. But you had the web at your disposal at a young age.
Yeah, no, I guess exactly. That's old-fashioned for me, is Googling when that first came out. But yeah, it's all still early days. As much as this stuff looks pretty impressive, it's also equally frustrating sometimes and not yet fully ready for prime time.
Yeah.
I see the direction it's headed, though. Give it a year.
The chat mentioned Claude. I would love to try some of these other ones. I just don't really have the budget to do that. I picked a winner and stay with that until it gets really bad. Kind of like marriage.
Now we're getting personal.
All right, let's go back to tech.
Yeah.
So QuickBooks Advanced went up to $275 per month. I don't know if you guys use QuickBooks to run your business at all.
I do.
Yeah. So
$275. Wait, really?
Yeah. So I use QuickBooks Advanced.
You mean web version or desktop version?
QuickBooks Online. Yeah, QuickBooks
Oh
Online.
my gosh, $275.
Yeah, and it was $235. So that's a pretty significant boost.
What do you use the advanced version for, Joe?
Wonderful question. I need the advanced version because I need the advanced feature of being able to restore company data, i.e. backups. They don't have backups unless you pay for advanced. I'm pretty sure this is the only reason because I switched to advanced a while back because now they used to support backups. Of course, the QuickBooks Desktop just includes that feature. I didn't think that was like asking a lot or that it was a special feature, but with QuickBooks Desktop, you can just manually back up or have it automatically back up to a folder at different points. I think, anyway, you could just have it back up to your Dropbox or whatever, QuickBooks Desktop. QuickBooks Online, I think, used to do this as well. At least manually, there's a way to back it up. I'm pretty sure they removed the ability to even manually back it up unless you pay for QuickBooks Advanced. So I thought that was pretty borderline extortionist to say, like, you can't rely on us to back up your data unless you have QuickBooks Advanced. This should not be an advanced feature.
I see that. I'm looking at my page right now. Yeah. Advanced has the data restoration option as a check and the others are not.
Yeah, they don't call it backup. If they called it backup, I think that would be a little bit more egregious. It's like, you charge me to back up? No, we just charge you to restore. That's a special feature.
Yeah, that's so ridiculous.
It's like, we have backups. You just can't restore unless you pay. I don't know. I thought it was pretty ridiculous.
Any reason why you guys weren't using desktop and moved to?
Well, at one point we spread out and we're remote. I had a finance manager, bookkeeper doing stuff for me. Right now I have it. I like that my accountant has access to it and can just go in and fix things or look at things with me versus desktop. I could potentially switch back, but I don't want to do that. I don't want to switch back to QuickBooks.
Yeah, but that's a lot of scratch.
It's a lot of money,
per
but
month.
They also haven't they increased. First of all, I don't think they'll even sell me QuickBooks Desktop anymore.
No, you can't get it. I'm limping along with a copy of 2022 that I probably bought through the educational tech soup for $50. So the joke's on them. But you'll have to pry 2022 out of my cold dead hands.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I just think this is just like you say, it's extortion, and they have no competition. Absolutely no competition, and they could do whatever the hell they want.
Yeah.
They have a monopoly on this business, and it's our own fault because I don't know if it's our own fault, but there's nobody that even wants to give them a run for the money.
I hear about Xero, right? Xero, Xero.
Yeah.
FreshBooks. Those are the two that come to mind.
FreshBooks is online. It's not a desktop version.
Right. And what's to say they're not going to charge or can increase their prices or whatever? And it's accounting software. Do I really want to teach my accountant how to, and they'll just tell me like, then you just have to output all these reports every quarter, every year or whatever. I want to use the industry standard for accounting software. I don't want to have to learn something new and have my accountant say, I don't know what that is, or have my ticketing system, say we don't integrate with that. Maybe they do integrate with one or the other or both FreshBooks and Xero, but I don't know. I don't like the idea of changing something as fundamental as my accounting software. That's just me.
Yeah, no, I agree. A lot of people have a lot of negative things to say about QuickBooks, and I get it. Even at Aces recently, people were talking about other products, but I just can't. It does what I need it to do. But if I'm going to have to go to advanced, I might start second guessing myself here.
I know. Because I don't want to mess something up and have to do a bunch of journal entries to fix it.
So I checked out pricing in January for a client for QuickBooks. So the Pro and the Plus desktop version for Mac, the new annual price based on one user was $1,000. And then the Premier Plus was at $13.99. But again, those are one user. So I don't know how much an extra user cost to add them to your plan, but
desktop or
that's desktop, QuickBooks desktop. I checked that in January of this past year. Now, I don't think that pricing has changed. It's still very expensive.
And that got more expensive because I thought that used to be like 200 something, and it wasn't per year. It was like until it breaks or whatever.
Right.
At least you get 3 or 4 years out of it typically back in the day.
Hey, Joe, I just want to come. I'm really digging into this QuickBooks thing.
Yeah.
So I was doing some research online live as we do on the show. And then I used ChatGPT because we were just talking about AI. Yeah. And so it looks like all the versions appear to back up, but I think it's the functionality of customized restorations. If you make a mistake that you can go to earlier in the day and restore just that functionality that you screwed up or something. But I think it's less about, no, we don't have redundancy, but more about it's a pain in the ass to restore otherwise. So I'm digging into it a little bit more, but I feel like maybe I could get away without going to advanced just for that.
Let me know, because it's been on my list to try to save money. Do I really need the advanced version for this purpose? And because frankly, I've never used it. I've never restored data that I can remember. And now that I say that, it's like I've been paying for Backblaze all these years. I've never needed it. I'm not going to not have a backup, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it looks to be very specific. It does have disaster recovery no matter what version, but it's if you need. I would suppose maybe if you have 3 different people working in your QuickBooks file and then someone screws something up, easy restore thing. Yeah. That's what I think we would get with advanced, but I'm going to find out more.
There are these economic concepts like surge pricing. What's the thing when there's a natural disaster or something and they don't want the gas station to jack up the price to
price gouging.
Price gouging, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm trying to think of a better term for they've got us by the shirt collar. Let's just.
Oh, okay. I've used other terms.
Or you're a captive audience. Let's say you're waiting in line at Disney World for a ride. The water happens to cost $8. It's people need to drink water. Where are they going to get? You didn't bring your own. It's you're a captive audience. There's one place you can buy something from, and you happen to probably need it because it's pretty hot out. So this stuff happens, but once you sign up for a subscription, at one point I signed up and I've been paying now $235 per month. Now it's $275 per month. Before I was paying $235, I think I was paying $185 at one point years ago. This stuff just goes up. It's, to a certain degree, you're going to expect that, right? That it's going to go up over time. But there's another aspect where it's what's reasonable? Because there's a lot of people that aren't going to jump ship for these reasons we're talking about, and they're just going to get away with basically gouging us because it's almost monopolistic behavior. They know they're the industry standard. That's also an aspect that comes into play. Well, one thing that comes up that's tangential to this is I noticed this. You get these emails. This one was from Microsoft. Okay, they can arbitrarily change the agreement. You're using Microsoft 365 to host your email. One day you get an email from Microsoft. Hey, we've changed the agreement. Here's the latest one. And now we've notified you. Click the link if you want to see what you're agreeing to. They have this quote in this email that says, if you do not agree, You can choose to discontinue using the products and services and close your Microsoft account before these terms become effective.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's all I have to do is just stop having email with Microsoft and just migrate my email to a new provider before this date. That's probably a month away.
Yeah.
Like that, this doesn't seem fair either. There's got to be a little push and pull there. Like maybe they shouldn't be able just to arbitrarily change. What if they just said, what if they opted into, we use all your data for training our AI models? Maybe they already do that. I don't know. But we didn't want them to do that. Like, what if they just said, now we're going to do that? Oh, you could just leave. Mm-hmm. I guess I'm forced to just accept that because I'm probably not going to leave. Like, that doesn't seem fair. So what's fair? Is there a certain amount that they should be allowed to raise their price every year and a certain degree of changing of these terms and conditions?
Yeah, they say with these monopolies too, you get these dependencies on the companies, and for the most part, customer service, there's no incentive to improve customer service. So services generally decline when a company has a monopoly.
Yeah,
because
makes sense.
Yeah,
I know it is frustrating because you're so embedded in not just email with Microsoft or Google for that matter. You might have SharePoint and all these other components to it that it's I can't just leave easily. It's impossible. And just by staying, you're agreeing to their new terms. It's BS.
Exactly. And let's say, so then it's a scaling issue because let's say you're one person operation, okay, fine. Like you can migrate your email, you can learn a new tool. Like even that's not easy. I'm a 2-person operation. Like I don't want to go through it. But what if you're 100 people in the company or 1,000 or 10,000 and switching from Microsoft, if you're a 10,000 person company, it's a non-trivial task to migrate your entire email. The physical moving of the email alone is one thing, but like Sam said, SharePoint files, whatever, integrations with other components of your stack or whatever, your day-to-day like workflow, you might have APIs talking to each other and whatever. 10,000 people need to be retrained to not use Teams, but instead use Google meetings or something. That's not easy. So again, like with the question of scale, it becomes harder and harder depending on how big of a company you are. It becomes even more likely you're going to just stick with what you have. Or Microsoft raises the price by $1 per person, take it or leave it. Again, it's a 10,000 person company. That's a very significant cost. But the cost to change is also very significant, and they know that. It just seems like maybe we need better regulation or something like that because this borders on monopoly type stuff.
The other thing to think about is you go from Microsoft to a similar platform like Google, and then 6 months later, Google's, hey, we're doing the same thing. We're making these changes. Then you're like, holy shit, I just made that whole big switch, and I'm screwed again.
I would just go out of business at that point. I would be done. I'd be like, I'm not going through this again. Screw it. Who wants this headache? This kind of thing happens. I don't know how you mitigate it. I think that there is a problem with when there's less competition. It's again my old hobby horse of like capitalism, like over optimizing things, and like Jerry said, they just keep squeezing, trying to wring every last penny out of the thing by firing a support person. And it doesn't matter if support suffers because that's a real lagging. That's not going to cause you to lose money except over the course of maybe like years to come. You're not going to immediately see a loss of business from that. And you're going to see a huge increase in net profit. So just, fire everybody in support. You're probably not going to lose any clients for a couple of years. But in the meantime, you've juiced your numbers as an acquisition target.
Or send your support offshore and save money there like they all do. Yeah.
Yeah, as long as support asks me how my weather is today, every time I call, that's all that matters.
They ask you how your weather is?
How the weather is where I am.
Oh, that's great.
How's the weather out there today? I'm like, it's fine. Let's get to the problem, please.
Small talk, especially with an AI bot. Let's just move on.
I'm probably butchering the language, but for a while there, when I first got the Apple TV, they rolled out Apple Fitness. They were doing a promotion where you could get Apple Fitness. So I did some of that. I was like, I forget, there's a treadmill one and there was one for just standing exercises. So I'm like, yeah. And so some of the trainers, this one particular trainer, she was from the Philippines, and she would do some Filipino greeting. And again, if you're Filipino and you're listening, apologize for butchering the language, but she would say something that it sounded like Kambustika. And she would also say galingaling.
I remember.
So,
yeah.
So I would get on the phone with not Microsoft, because Microsoft is still using India, but I believe Adobe goes out to the Philippines, and I would sometimes throw these into the conversation I'd be having with the support representative. And only a couple times. I didn't obnoxiously do this all the time, but they said something like, "Oh, we're not allowed to use our native language when we speak to you." I think,
God forbid we humanize anyone. Wow. Yeah, it's like the worst of all worlds. It's like they don't get to be who they are. We don't get to. We have to talk to people where there's not only a technology barrier of understanding, there's also a language barrier.
Yeah, that's a great point.
It's not, and the only people winning are, again, the capitalists, like the people, the venture capitalists, the people that invest in businesses and squeeze all the juice from the lemon and leave us with rotting fruit. I don't know. That's it.
Or you're relegated to chat, and you're chatting with somebody where English isn't the first language. And like we talked about a couple shows ago with my recent dealings with Amazon and trying to reconcile my affiliate relationship, which didn't come to pass. But I was convinced that I was either talking to a bot or talking to someone who is just reading from laminated pages in their own language.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's super frustrating. You can't reason with someone. You can't.
There's no logic. Yeah.
Connection. It's just, It's, hey, try to help me out. You can understand where I'm coming from. That's not on the list. Sorry. It's not on the flow chart.
There's no gray area.
End of chat.
You could try applying again. That's what they told me multiple times.
Wow.
I have a funny one to tell about how I had to help my wife's uncle with his ancient computer and his iPhone. So anyone who wants to hear a family tech support story, stay tuned for next time for that one.
People spend so much time on their computers and using social apps like Instagram and Facebook that when things don't work, they don't have any resolution. If you get scammed out of your account, there's nobody if somebody's spoofing you, I know, Joe, you had a client where this was an ongoing thing. There's really nothing you could do. I got a panic call right before the show, just out of the blue, where this woman, she's a potter, and she developed a following on Instagram, and she got some new Apple devices, and she's trying to sign in on her Apple devices to her Instagram account for pottery, where she's a verified user through Instagram, and it's not allowing her to sign in. So either someone's hijacked her account, and so I spent a couple moments for free with her on the phone because that's the way I roll. And I said, wait a minute, if you go to the web, can you log in as this identity? And she said, no. And I said, well, then this has nothing to do with your Apple devices. This is going to happen on a PC. And the only people, unfortunately, you can get any satisfaction who can make this right for you are Instagram, and you can't call them. And she knew that. And she wasn't in tears, but she was definitely quite agitated. There's nothing you can do for these people because I just told her, you need to go to the proper channels in the Instagram account and try to make an appeal and try to bring your account back. Otherwise, you're just out of luck.
Yeah, literally just keep trying the same thing again and again. That's the only recourse we have with that stuff. Mm-hmm. It's terrible.
But that's a great business model, isn't it? There's no number you call, and you only can deal with people through chat.
Yeah. What do you want?
I like
for
it.
Free service. Yeah.
It's like Tesla. If you buy a car from them, it's impossible. You can't reach a human.
Is that right?
Yeah, I've been waiting for a part for the side mirror on my car because someone dinged me. It's been 4 months, and there's no human. Like the auto body shop there's nothing we can do. We just have to wait for Tesla to one day say the part has been shipped. There's no human to talk to at all.
Somebody backed into your wife. Let's tell the story correctly.
Yeah, well, I have footage of it.
Yeah,
in my car. It's crazy.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Wow. See,
Anyway.
the Tesla is so advanced; it should be able to self-heal, like I was talking about in the software.
Pop out the dent itself.
The hardware, yeah, that, or it could see the dent, it could see the damage, and it can order the part.
Or be like the Tesla truck and just shed its side panels.
Yes, right.
Nice.
Man, yeah, this stuff is imperfect, and that's why we're still employed. Maybe we shouldn't complain, because if this all was perfect, maybe they wouldn't need us. I don't know. Do you think there's a world where it could actually get so good that there's less of a market for our services?
I'm not going to guess at that because I'll be wrong. Whatever I say in 10 years, I'll be like, I'll look back and I'll be like, that comment was wrong.
Yeah. No, I mean, with AI, like clearly the potential is there. If it can pass the bar as a lawyer or whatever, like it could easily siphon up all of the work that I've ever done in my entire life, at least all the notes that I've made to clients and all the questions and responses and guidance, times everyone in the industry, all of Apple's support documents, every vendor's support documents, and the client asks in natural language, this is what's happening, fix it. And the AI would spit out the response. And better yet, with Apple Intelligence built in, it could just remote control the system and fix the problem. Oh, looks like iCloud password is not turned on. Just turns it on, fixes it wasn't syncing, problem solved. That is very conceivably doable. Yeah. But then as we see in practice, it's really imperfect. So do we really want to give AI the ability to remote control our just flip switches on our phone? Probably not, but given enough time as it gets better and better, low stakes stuff seems like it could easily do that like in a year or two, practically speaking, but I don't know that it will, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe we get to devote our time to more important stuff than harder problems.
Planting seedlings.
We will see. Yeah, we'll see. Everybody, thanks for listening to another episode of Command Control Power. We really appreciate your support at commandcontrolpower.com. Click on support to follow us on Patreon, and you get extra content there. But we really appreciate you listening and sending in your feedback. We'll talk to you next week. Special thanks to the following community members whose strong monthly support has sustained us for all these years: Ryan Gowdy, CoreCompetent.com; Weldon Dodd, Kanji.io; Richard Wingfield, EnvisionDesign.net; Adam Rice, AskAdam.io; Mac Admins Podcast, podcast.macadmins.org; Tim Nyberg, TheMacGuys.com; Michael Thompson, Origin84.com; Matthew Waples, Waples.net; Tom Puls, BoxIT.tech; Jerome Potters, PITPro.nl; Steve Sorbo, MacSOS.biz; Andy Espo, CallAndy.com; and Nate Sinal, WeAreScout.com. Thank you all very much, and thanks to our patrons at every level of support. If you enjoy the show, we really would love your support. And if you already support us and can increase your monthly pledge, we really do find that encouraging. CommandControlPower.com and click support. Thanks very much for listening and for supporting the show.
Jerry does his voices of customers of all kinds.
Am I on the cloud?
Joe spins his deeply detailed yarns all the time.
I have a whole story about this.
Sam is on the road again, phoning in from a hotel.
At least we know where I am.
Half a century combined of Apple